Rabbi Stulberger is not someone that needs really an introduction, especially around here. He's one of the premier builders of Torah in Los Angeles, especially in the Valley. Many of the faces that we see here tonight are his Talmidim from probably decades and decades and decades that learned by Rabbi Stulberger. And it's really a covet for us that he would take from his very busy schedule on a night that most people would like to go home and rest up for tomorrow. But I told him there's people in Makor Chaim that want to hear you, Rabbi Stulberger. And Baruch Hashem, you're here, and Rabbi Stulberger is here. And without any further ado, may we get the chizuk that we're all looking for from the great words of Rabbi Stulberger.
Normally I say it's a pleasure to be here. I think we were all hoping for different results for this particular night. As the Rav's moving words earlier inspired us to shed a tear and to move into the deep emotions in the recesses of our hearts, to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the recognition that it's another Tisha B'Av. Not the Tisha B'Av again that we're all hoping for. Somebody just sent me in a shul, nice cute little chart, Tisha B'Av, Plan A, Plan B. The Plan A is Eliyahu announces 2:30, Mashiach comes at 3:30, we take a flight at 6:30. That's Plan A for Tisha B'Av. Plan B, it goes through the typical schedule. So we all had a Plan A, but as the Rav said, the fact that you're here, special Makom Torah, special Makom Tefillah, people who get it, who really get it. So it's for me, it's always a schus to share some thoughts with you. You know, the Torah has unique expectations for the Jewish people. It's not stam. You know, we know many thoughts have been expressed regarding the connection between what we're going through right now, culminating in Tisha B'Av, and what we're about to go through with Elul right around the corner. And in Elul, one of the expressions that the Bali Musa talk about a lot during the time of Elul, getting ready for Tshuva, getting ready for the Yom Neroim, is V'gila Barada, words of David HaMelech, V'gila Barada. It's an amazing idea, Gila Barada, rejoice in trepidation. What is that supposed to mean? And we're not going to go into it right now, but just my point is to share with you the idea that we know in many places what seems impossible for a Jew, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying to us, no, it's possible. You can do it. And just like you can get ready for a Elul and for Rosh Hashanah by at the same time rejoicing with the feelings of Elul and feeling the trepidation of Yom Hadin, those two things are not contradictory. It's not all or nothing. Either I'm rejoicing or I'm fearful. No. We can be joyous and fearful within the same realm of our being. They can be simultaneous. That very same concept, I believe, is very inherent in Tisha B'Av. This amazing day, which on one hand is a day of, as Chazal tell us, can you give me one day? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, one day, is it not? Is the Beis HaMikdash not worth one day of tears, one day of sitting on the floor, one day of emotion and sorrow for the loss of this incredible building and all of what it represents? It's all the tsaris, as was mentioned, all the tsaris, every pain, every anguish, and especially now what Klal Yisrael is going through, all inherent in that Churban Abayis. So it represents sorrow, represents pain, represents crying, represents avelus. We're on the floor. And at the very same time, it's Karolai Moed. At the very same time, we didn't even say Tachnun Mincha time. We didn't say Tachnun. Forget about on Tisha B'Av itself. We're not going to say Tachnun. It's a Yontif. Yontif. How in the world can we sort of mesh these emotions? But we see that this is the nature of our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's not just that we could do it, we must do it. Because the Moed aspect, the Yontif aspect of what's going on during this time, the recognition that while we are crying, while we are in sorrow, we have an absolute recognition of the fact that the Beis HaMikdash is coming, Mashiach is coming, Gula is coming. And that's the Moyed, that's the Yontif. And those two emotions not only can coexist within a person, while I'm crying, I'm recognizing that Gula is around the corner, but it's actually required. So amazing thought, Shabbos Chazayin. We just went through Shabbos Chazayin. So different, the Haftarahs, Chazon, Yeshayahu. So it's certainly, we don't need we don't have to go too far for why it's called Shabbos Chazon. But I saw the new art scroll, the Mikor Kadosh brings from wonderful Sefer, brings a tremendous thought, tremendous idea. And it's connects to a Shloah HaKadosh. He says, there's another dimension of the comparison between Shabbos Chazayin, and there are comparisons between Yeshayahu and Moshe Rabbeinu. And in a very important dimension, it's called Shabbos Chazon, because Shabbos Chazon was a time where what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Yeshayahu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also did previously for Moshe Rabbeinu. And he says Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see all of the future generations. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Moshe Rabbeinu through all of human history. He saw everything, till the very end, till the Gula, till the celebration. He saw everything that was going to be happening, that happened and is going to happen. And similarly, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that for Moshe Rabbeinu, Yeshayahu and Moshe are connected in different levels in terms of unique powers of Nevuah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Yeshayahu the entire Galus, from beginning to end. And just like when Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, was able to see all of the human history, he was able to sort of come and extend from himself and was mashpia, he says. There was a certain level of influence, of power that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to exude, to give the Jewish people his strength throughout all the generations. Yeshayahu saw the Golus, the long and bloody, seemingly endless Golus. And by seeing that and by going through that Golus, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu showing him the challenges, the vicissitudes, the bloodshed, the torturous situations, the October 7th, the Simchas Torah that we just went through, unimaginable pain and sorrow for Klal Yisrael. But he also showed them you can make it through Golus. By seeing the Golus and by seeing the entire Golus, there was a level of Yeshayahu exuding into and somehow being able to impact and bashpia on the Jewish people, the recognition, we can go through Golus. We can handle a Golus. Because we know the Golus is not forever. Because we know the Golus is going to end. And that's Pshat. And the Mefarshim say the fact that when we cry on a Tisha B'Av, when we are able to mourn over the Churban HaBayis, it's like we rebuilt it in that generation. Say the Mefarshim, because when we cry on something that happened 2,000 years ago, that means it's still alive. The thought is still alive. It's still within us. And when we cry about it, that means it hasn't really left, and it's going to be rebuilt, because that Golus is a precursor to a Gula. And we're able to feel those two elements, and it's so critical that we do, because the one thing we can't feel is forlorn. We can't feel forsaken. The tears cannot be tears of abandonment, tears and feelings that the Pasuk says in this last week's parsha, incredible words that just sort of so shock every Jew to its core, that the Klal could have said such words. The night that was relegated to infamy, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the Jewish people, oh, you cry? You cry tonight, the night of Tisha B'Av, you cry in the Midbar because the spies came back and gave a report that you felt wasn't good enough, and you all said, we can't do this? That's why you're crying? All of the people in all their tents were all crying, we can't do this, why'd you bring us out here? But they said more, and by Midbar it says one thing, in Devarim we just read yesterday, B'sinas Hashem Elokeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates us. He hates us. And it's almost, I don't really have the words to explain how could Klal Yisrael say such a thing. And Moshe Rabbeinu right away says, no, Because Baruch doesn't hate you, he loves you. How can you say hate you? What did he do for you? He carried you on his shoulders. He did such miracles for you, but somehow a Jew. And Rashi explains, Rashi says, yeah, if you hate Hashem, then you project your hatred onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu towards us. We project the same feelings from ourselves, and we assume the other party has the same feelings towards us. But even that, how could Klal Yisrael have hated HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And the Safrona gives us a little bit of an opening. He hated us because we sin. He hated us because we're over Avodah Zarah in Mitzrayim. That's why he hates us. So feelings of hate. Is the word hate possible to be used in the relation between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And when was it used? When was the one time that it was used in Jewish history and human history? It was that night of Tisha B'Av. Not at the Churban HaBayis, but the night of the Meraglim. When the Jewish people said words that you can't imagine. And it's those thoughts that even though we are crying, and even though we are doing tshuva, and even though we know that the fact that the Beis HaMikdash has not been rebuilt, it's because we haven't been zocheh to get to that level where it needs to be rebuilt. We hope we're so close. We hope that the next act of chesed, the next act of Edom HaChavero, the next time that we close our mouths and don't speak Lashon Hara should be that act that will get us and catapult us to that level. We're not there yet. Despite the fact that, we beat ourselves up a little bit, and we certainly cry. We certainly have a lot to cry about. It cannot be that we feel forlorn. We feel not worthy. We feel not good enough. We feel that we'll never make it. Those are thoughts that are so dangerous. And that's why I believe that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu inherently created this idea of, he showed Yeshayahu, it's a long and bloody golus, but there's an end to it. And he was mashpi on Klal Yisrael that, yes, you can deal with it. I saw it all. And you can deal with it as well. And that's why it's Korelai Moed, because within the pain that we feel of the day of Tisha B'Av and what it represents, we don't say Tachton. It is an element of celebration. It's an element of joy, an element of simcha, because that's the nature of the day. It's going to be, and there are many other times, Gemara Makos, it's not the time, and we don't have the time to go through it all, but the Tanoim are looking and they see the end of Makos they're at their Harabayis, and they see a fox running up the Harabayis, and they cry, and Rabbi Kiva's laughing. And the essence of that conversation, why, Rabbi Kiva, why are you laughing? Well, why are you crying? Why am I crying? I'm crying because look at the Beis HaMikdash, look at the Churban. A fox is coming out of the Beis HaMikdash. This is where we're at. He says, and that's why I'm laughing. Because when I see this, I know that the ultimate Yeshua is coming, because he quotes from another pasuk in Navi, that there'll be redemption. So we are able, and more so we have to have this duality of emotions within us at this one given time. And this feeling that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, I think, is so critical. This sort of the anti-Meraglim feeling, to sort of eradicate that sin that really was the precursor and the catalyst for all of the devastation that followed throughout the centuries. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the Jewish people, you cry a cry that's in vain, I'll give you a reason to cry. To eradicate that, we have to, with the pain and with the tears and with the golus and all the tzaras, we have to feel that love. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrates so many things, even with the devastation of a Simchas Torah. How many stories have we heard? How many stories have we not heard? There probably, for every one that we heard, there probably 100 that we didn't hear, of the absolute miracles that took place and that continue to take place literally on a daily basis in Eretz Yisrael. We're devastated. We hear the reports and we're crying, and we feel just so inept. We'd love to do more. Whatever we can do, we try to do. Baruch Hashem, we're trying. We're doing amazing things, even from a distance. Klal Yisrael is helping. The Achdus has been remarkable, Baruch Hashem. But just to see the miracles within the devastation, to see the miracles, this feeling is so critical. And there's a story that I think highlights this nakuda, this concept. Story in 1929 that certainly is a Tisha B'Av story, because in 1929, I think it was maybe Tammuz, or I think it was Av, where we know what the Arabs, Yamach Shemam V'Zechram, came to to Hebron, where we had the Sabbat Yeshiva learning in Hebron, the yeshiva that the Alter sent Talmidim, and he sent Rabbi Chasman, the Rosh Yeshiva, to Eretz Yisrael, and they established a Mokum Torah, Sabbatka in Eretz Yisrael. Incredible. 1929, and what happens? The massacre. And some exact numbers, 50, 60, 70 people died during that massacre, and some 20 B'nai Torah in the Beis Medrash. Yamach Shemam, these animals came into the Beis Medrash and shechted chavrusis. They shechted people while they're learning, and the miracles of how the other Talmidim survived. Many survived, but about 20 were killed, karbonis, during that time. There's an incredible story that's said about the following Rosh Hashanah of that particular year. The story goes that it's only a few weeks from Av to Rosh Hashanah. Wasn't that long. It's some 2 months later. And the yeshiva still wasn't fully recovered. They moved to Geula. They moved from Hebron to Geula. They obviously couldn't stay there, and they went to Geula, and they found a place in Rehov HaNeviim. They set up shop there, and it was Yom Neroim. No means Sabbatka, who davens in Yom Neroim. The holiest, the greatest, Rosh Yeshivas, Gedolim. Rabbi Chasman goes over to a 19-year-old boy. Betzalel Sakavitsky, I believe his name was. He goes over to him and says, "Can you please daven for the Yomid?" I'm a kid, not daven for the Yomid. I mean, I'm not ready, I'm not worthy, it's not shaykh, he says. He was very insistent. You can't say no to the Rashiva. When he pushes a second time, you can't say no. So he goes up there. And the feelings weren't there. The sort of the hollowness was almost palpable, in the sense that the feelings of Yom Nerom, the feelings of Rosh Hashanah, which normally just sort of resonate throughout any Mokum Torah, something was missing. And this Betzal Sakavitsky had a beautiful voice, and he says, Baruch Hu, and with the nusach of Rosh Hashanah, and the Olam answered, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Olam, but it wasn't, somehow, something was still missing. The room was quiet, it was empty, it was something, there was no ruach. They finished their first bracha, Hamariv Aravim, still the same. And then, there are many eyewitnesses, this is a famous story because there are many people who were there. And then as they finished the bracha of Avos Olam, Betzal Sakavitsky gets to the end of that bracha, he says, V'avoscho al tosim imenu li'olamim, which essentially, it means, literally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your love, don't remove from us. What does that really mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't remove his love from us. It means we should not feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed his love. It means we should not have that alienation from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that separation, that feeling of unworthiness, where we don't feel that love. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for us is eternal and boundless throughout. But we should feel it. And don't remove it from us, meaning that don't allow us to feel distant from you, where we're feeling that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't love us anymore. And instead of doing what every chazan does, chazanim who don't repeat, and we know that's the preferred way is not to repeat words in a bracha. But Betzal Sakavitsky repeated those words. And he said again, V'avoscho, and they slowly started to sing with him. He said it again. And no one counted exactly how many times those words were repeated. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't forsake us. Don't allow us to feel that your love is not there. We have to feel that love. And they repeated it many times. Something that would be unthinkable, to repeat words in a bracha many times in Sabbat Yeshiva, can never happen. It happened that night. And that night, they said after Ma'ariv, Sabbatka got its neshama back. Sabbatka got its ruach back. And it's so amazing to me, that story is so profound. And the story ends, Rabbi Chasman went over to Betzalel Sakavitsky after Mayev. He gave him a shkoyach, and he says, "Das was ich hab gemeint." I had this in mind. That's what he told me. I had this in mind, that you would somehow find a way to stir up and bring back that neshama into Sabatka. But what was the neshama that was missing? To me, this story, the line, I mean, there are many amazing, beautiful lines in Ma'ariv. But that line, somehow if we allow a tragedy to overwhelm us, and to somehow feel we're alone, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's not with us, that somehow, where's HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Those feelings can't exist. As much as we're devastated, as much as we're in a golus, as much as we're commemorating, remembering Churban, that's what we're here tonight, that's why we're on the floor tonight. But it has to be with that sense. If somehow those words don't resonate within the neshama of Klal Yisrael, then we're not there. And that's what needed to be brought back that night. Obviously nobody's judging, but Baruch Hashem, he was able to find that nekuda to bring it back. That's what we have to be able to feel. That's why in every Eisar, no matter how dark the situation might be in there, again, how many examples, how many thousands, maybe millions of stories have been said about the Halot Nisim in that darkness. Could there be a bigger darkness than the Holocaust? But in that darkness, how many miracles, how many incredible stories. And just on a general level, one that has certainly touched me, because my wife is here because of this story. And many, many thousands of other Jews are here who were connected to the Mir Yeshiva. My father-in-law, Zechor Avrohom, Reb Chaim Portnoy, was a Talmud in the Mir Yeshiva. When they have a picture of the 200 or so Bachim learning in the Mir in Shanghai during World War II, the miraculous journey of that yeshiva. It's an incredible thing. Again, not the time to go through all the stories, just the basic story is miraculous. But within the miraculous survival and the saving of that Malcolm Torah, to be able to, at a time when the Torah was eradicated, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what did he do? How many Tahirim, Kedoshim were wiped out in that Holocaust? How many B'nai Torah, how many Rosh Hashivas, how many Rabbanim, how many Talmidei Chachamim? The Rashiva, but with all the Rashivas that were gone, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to perform a miracle, an unbelievable miracle that had no rhyme or reason. Even the building which they were in has no rhyme or reason. That this building was built in the early 20s by a Jew who had a vision one night, build this big edifice in the middle of Shanghai. It doesn't make any sense. But it was exactly big enough to house the B'nai Torah. And they were there for years, learning at an incredible level. And you want to know how we were able to rebuild Torah? To a large degree, that's how Kodesh Baruch Hu secured Torah's future after World War II, after the devastation of the loss of the 6 million, because there was a Mir Yeshiva that was able to come to America and go to Eretz Yisrael with those amazing people and rebuild Torah in so many different ways. And that's why look at what we have today, Baruch Hashem, to a large extent because of that miracle. An amazing miracle of the odyssey and the journey and the survival of the Mir Yeshiva. So Rabbi said it is so obvious and so clear that Kodesh Baruch Hu loves us. And even within the devastation of the most recent horrific event, unspeakable event that happened to Klal Yisrael on the last Simchas Torah, the Nisim and the recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with so many people, and so many amazing things happened to be able to save various people, unexplainable stories of how they were saved. And those stories continue in the war. Again, literally, not just, there are miracles and there are miracles. So when you start seeing visions and when entire platoons or groups of soldiers see things that are not explained, that save Jews, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us, Rabbi saying. That's what we have to remember. That's what we have to know. The Korelai Moed, the recognition that we are crying and we have to cry. But we're crying tears that lead to something very, very special. They lead to Geula. The Gula is literally inherent, whether you hold Mashiach is born today, Mashiach is going to come today, different opinions as to what exactly is the yontif of Tisha B'Av, but it's something very special, inherent about today that we have to feel in the pain. So Bez Hashem, certainly this is a special Mokum Torah where it's the Ruach is palpable, Baruch Hashem. The Avos Chatzos Menomim is something that you feel. You walk into this special place and you feel the connection between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bez Hashem, that connection, that love should just continue to grow. And as we sit on the floor and we cry on a Tisha B'Av, Bez Hashem, let us hope and pray that those tears lead to the ultimate joy, that lead to this situation where HaKadosh Baruch Hu finally sees the tears and sees the anguish and sees the tshuva, Bez Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, finally, Karlai Moed will be Zoch Bez Hashem to dance at the ultimate simcha with Bias HaMashiach Meir B'Meinu.
Shachris tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you very much, Rabbi Stulberger.